Om. 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 Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. On this blessed evening of Mahashivaratri, the great night of Shiva, we seek the blessings of Bhagavan Shiva, Puja Gurudev, to explore the Dwadasha Jyotirlingas, the 12 Jyotirlingas in Bharat. And before we start, we will look through an invocation in the Shiva Purana. Many of these stories of all of the Jyotirlingas can be found in the Shiva Purana. So let us begin with that. It's in the Koti Rudra Samhita. I'll chant and then explain. Yodhatte nijamayaye bhuvanaakaram vikarojito yasyahu karuna kataksha vibhavau swargapavarga bidhau pratyakbodha sukhadvayam hridi sada pashyanti yam yoginaha tasmai shaila sutam jitartha vapushe shashwan namaste jase. Yodhatte, the one who holds, who supports, who nourishes this whole bhuvanakaram, this whole world of forms. How? Nijamayaya, with his own mayaya. But he is vikara ujjita. He is without any modification. So he appears as this whole entire world. And he is called somebody who is very compassionate. Karuna kataksha vibhavau. He has these eyes of compassion. And swarga pavarga vidhau. He's the one who gives swarga and apavarga. Swarga, of course, is heavenly realms. But for those who want to go beyond even heaven, once Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji was in the hospital, and the doctor had asked him, when you get to heaven, say prayer for me. And Gurudev said, I'm going beyond heaven. That is apavarga. That is moksha. And apavarga means not pavarga, not pa, pa, ba, pa, ma. Pa stands for papa or sin. Pa stands for phala or fruits of action. Ba stands for bandhana or bondage. Bha stands for bhayam or fear. And ma stands for marana. So that Bhagavan Shiva is the one who gives us freedom from pavarga. No sin, no attachment to fruits of action, no bondage, no fear, and no death. Meaning, we identify with the immortal self. That is Bhagavan Shiva. And who is he? Who worships him? Yoginaha. All the yogis, yam pashyanti. They see him hridhi sada, in their hearts always. And who is really Shiva? Pratyakbodha sukhadvayam. That non-dual consciousness and bliss that's in one's heart. And how does he appear to us? How do we see him? Vapushe, to that one who has the body. Shaila Sutan Jitardha, who's decorated with Parvati on the left side, to that body who's beautified by Parvati Mata. Shashwan Namaste Jase. We constantly bow down to your feet. So obeisance forever to that brilliance, whose half of whose body is beautified by the daughter of the mountain, and who, rid of all aberrations, modifications, assumes the shape of worlds by the means of his own maya, and whose sympathetic glance brings about wealth and glory in the form of heaven and apavarga, salvation, and whom the yogins see in their hearts as the one without a second, as the inner consciousness and bliss. So this is that Bhagavan Shiva that we worship. And how are we worshipping Bhagavan Shiva today on this blessed night of Shivaratri? Through going through the 12 Jyotirlingas. This is known as the Dwadasha Jyotirlinga Stotram. So I will just chant it and we will go through each Jyotirlinga so you'll be able to feel the story and the glory. Saurashtre Somanatham cha Shri Shaile Mallikarjunam Ujjainya Mahakalam Omkaram Amaleshwaram Paralyam Vaidyanatham cha Dakinyam Bhimashankaram Setu Bandhetu Ramesham Nagesham Darukavane Varanasyam tu Vishvesham Trayambakam Gautami Tate Himalaye tu Kedaram Gushmesham cha Shivalaye Etani Jyotirlingani Sayam Pratah Patim Naraha Sapta Janma Kritam Papam Smaranena Vinashyati. So these are the 12 Jyotirlingas. And as I said, we will go through them in detail so we can see each one. Before we start, I just want to offer my gratitude for I have been very honored and grateful and blessed to go on Ekadasha Jyotirlingas, 11 Jyotirlingas this past winter. This was organized by Chinmay Mission South Africa under the guidance of Swami Puja Swami Abhedananda Ji. So I offer my gratitude to Swami Ji, to all those who organized, supported, took care of everything for our trip, and really everybody who helped, who contributed, who worked for it, my pranams, and it is only because of them that I'm able to reflect on this here today. So go to the next slide. So first we look at a Shivalinga. A Shivalinga is we saw who Bhagavan Shiva is, right? Bhagavan Shiva is really that non-dual self. And when this non-dual self takes a form, the closest form to non-duality, they say, is the Shivalinga. And that's why in the Puranas, Bhagavan Shiva says, those who worship the Linga are very, very dear to me. Because if we see the Linga, it has no eyes, no ears, no nose, no hands, no legs. It represents Bhagavan in the closest form there is to non-duality. And the Shivalinga also, it represents the union between Prakriti and Purusha. So it symbolizes the whole creation, the sustenance, and the dissolution of this world. And when we worship Bhagavan Shiva, we offer our individuality to totality and acknowledge that, yes, we as individuals can create, yes, we can sustain, yes, we can also destroy. But the power of any of the creation that happens in our minds, the power of sustenance that lies in our ability, and the power to destroy that lies in our will, all of that really is from Bhagavan Shiva and his Shakti, without which we cannot do anything. And so the real puja to Shivalinga is the one of offering our individuality to totality. And this Shivalinga becomes manifest as a Jyotirlinga. Linga means indicator, it's a sign. This Shivalinga becomes manifest as a Jyoti. Jyoti is as light. And there's a famous story in the Puranas that Brahmaji and Vishnuji were talking to each other, trying to figure out who is greater between the two of them. And Bhagavan Shiva manifested as a pillar of light without any beginning and end. And he said, let me see, who of you can find the beginning or end of me? And so Brahmaji took the form of a swan to try to find the beginning, the top of Bhagavan Shiva. Vishnuji took the form of a boar and tried to find the bottom, the end of Lord Shiva. And they went and went very, very far. Bhagavan Vishnu went all the way and he gave up. He couldn't find the end. And Brahmaji, as he was going up, he saw a Ketaki flower coming and falling. And he said, he had an idea to take that Ketaki flower and tell Shiva that he had been to the top. Because Ketaki flower, he said, would have flown from the top of Lord Shiva's head. And so Bhagavan Shiva saw both of them and asked them, did you find me? And Bhagavan Vishnu said, no, I could not find you. And Brahmaji said, I went to the top and here is a symbol, the Ketaki flower. And Lord Shiva knew that he was lying. And it is because of this, Brahmaji is not worshipped in any temple, except one that I'm told. But Bhagavan Vishnu is. And so, this Jyotirlinga symbolizes these places where Bhagavan Shiva actually manifested. He manifested as light, he manifested as a form, but he made his presence known. His presence, which is unlimited, beginningless, endless, which we cannot grasp, he makes it known to us. And what is the power that makes it known to us? It's the power of our devotion. Just in the same way as this infinite water can come and form ice due to coldness, in the same way that infinite Bhagavan, through our devotion, can come to be a form. And that form is known as a Jyotirlinga. So, as we said, now there are many Jyotirlingas, but 12 of them are known to be the main one. And I am, in the Shiva Puranas, they are said in a different order, but I am going by the order of the shloka, more so I can keep track. It's easier to remember the shloka, and we will go from there. So our first destination is Saurashtra. Saurashtra, Saurashtre Somanatamcha. This is the first pada of the stotram. This is in Gujarat. In Gujarat, we find Somnath. And this is the Somnath temple of Gujarat. And the story goes here that there was a moon, Chandra. So we'll stop here so that I can see you. Chandra is the moon, and Daksha Prajapati had given 27 of his wives to the moon. And the moon favored one wife over and above all. And this wife was Rohini. And so this was not sitting well with the other wives. Of course, anytime there's favoritism, there's somebody who gives more attention to someone than the other, there's always, some kind of discomfort there. And so they went to Daksha Prajapati and he cursed the moon, Chandra. He cursed the moon and said, you will decrease, your body will decrease, it will decay. And so now this moon didn't know what to do. And all the gods were just panicking, because if the moon keeps decaying, who will light up the sky? And so they urged the moon, and the moon went and did tapas to Bhagavan Shiva. He did tapas with the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. And it said many times, thousands of times, some even say millions of times. But the point is, his tapasya was so incredibly deep that he kept on repeating that mantra, because Mahamrityunjaya mantra is a very, very powerful one that relieves people from sickness, from death, from suffering. And so he prayed and prayed and prayed with this mantra. And because of that, Lord Shiva came and blessed him. He appeared to him and blessed him and said, now, instead of you decaying and decreasing, I bless you that you will increase, and on the fourth night, decrease. So you will increase for some time and decrease. And that's why the moon waxes and wanes. And the reason that this temple is called Somnath is because Soma is the moon and Nath is the lord of the moon. And so this is the first Jyotirlinga. This is the first in the Purana, this is the first also in the Stotra. And this is how Bhagavan Shiva appears. Now this temple Somnath is very, very precious because it's a temple of resilience. It was a very, very wealthy temple. And it said at one time the Shiva Linga was so powerful that it was even suspended in air. Hundreds and hundreds of musicians and entertainers would come to this temple. It had so much gold, silver, jewels, gems. And because of that, it was looted so many times. They say about 17 times this temple was robbed and desecrated. And every single time it was rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt. The beauty of this temple is it's a shining example of the strength of Bharat. No matter what anyone does to Bharat, we will come back. We will fight back and we will restore our glory. Because that is who we are, Bharat, the land that revels in knowledge, revels in light. This temple was restored also by Devi Ahilyabai. So there is a temple right beside Somnath that shows, and I'll show you some pictures, where Ahilyabai had built. She had built a temple while the original Somnath was destroyed. She had built a temple there where people could actually worship the Shiva Linga. And in this Somnath temple, it is the southernmost tip of Bharat where there's no more land. So there's a straight line from Somnath temple to the Antarctica, Straight line from Somnath temple to the south pole. So this temple is the first Jyotirlinga temple of resilience. So let's see. This is the Jyotirlinga there. Very, very, very beautiful Jyotirlinga. It's a very big one. And as I had mentioned all of these facts to you, the latest rebuilding of the Somnath temple was due to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And that's why when you go there, you'll see his statue there. And he announced it in 1947. In 1951, the first president of India, Rajendra Prasad, he performed the installation. So this was a very, very beautiful site. And if you go, this is the temple where Ahilyabai, Ahilya Devi, that's where she built, near Somnath. And so this is her, a statue of her. And then, as I said, it's from the temple, there is a place where you can see just the river, you know, and it goes straight, all the way down to the South Pole. One more beautiful thing, when we were in the temple, they said that before the river used to come and do Abhisheka to the Linga. You know, it was structured in a way that the river would come and do Abhisheka to the Linga. So this is Saurashtre Somnatham. Now we'll go to Sri Shaile Mallikarjunam. So this temple is the Brahmaramba Sri Mallikarjuna temple in Sri Shaila in Andhra Pradesh. Now, what is the story of this Sri Shailam? Sri Shailam is a place where both Bhagavan Shiva and Parvati Mata appeared. So in this temple, we get special darshan of both of them. The story is that, of course, we know that Bhagavan Shiva and Parvati Mata had two sons, Kartikeya and Ganesha. And Ganesha got married first. So Kartikeya was a little bit upset. And so he left and he went far into the mountains. And so Bhagavan Shiva and Parvati Devi, they sent people to call him back, but he wouldn't come back. And so they went to try to go to him, but he went even further. And so Bhagavan Shiva and Parvati Devi, they sat there and they manifested their linga, their Jyotirlinga. And so it is here that people have that darshan, because Parvati Devi was so sad when Kartika left and she wanted to meet him, but they couldn't. And so they sat and they did their own tapasya. This is also the place where Brahmaramba Devi, she stays. Brahma means bee. So what happened was there was this very strong asura who obtained a boon that he couldn't be killed with anything that had 2 legs or 4 legs. So Brahmaramba Devi had to come, and she had a whole army, a swarm of bees, and these bees vanquished that asura. And so that's how, and after that she stays there. She stays there as Brahmaramba Devi. And this is also a Shakti Peeth. It's a Shakti Peeth. And here Shakti Peeth means that when Bhagavan Shiva found out that Sati, his wife, had given herself to fire in the Yajna of Daksha, he held her corpse. And that whole day made the whole world growl and shake. And so Bhagavan Vishnu, he took his Sudarshan Chakra and he cut Sati's corpse into various parts. And different parts of Sati have fallen in Bharat. And those places where those parts have fallen are called Shakti Peethas. And so this is also a Shakti Peeth. So it's a very beautiful temple because we get the darshan of Bhagavan Shiva and the darshan of Devi. This temple is also where Adi Shankaracharya, this area is where Adi Shankaracharya had done his Shivananda Lahari composition. And in this temple, when we were going there, I had noticed something so beautiful. There was a shrine of Akka Mahadevi. Akka Mahadevi was a Shaiva saint of Karnataka. And she was extremely devoted to Shiva. That ever since she was young, she felt that she was married to Shiva and that there was nobody else but Shiva in her mind. In fact, everywhere she looked, there was only Shiva. And she was one of the very, very great bhaktas from the Veera Shaiva movement. So her shrine is also there. And one more thing I remember about this place is when we were visiting this place, because it's in the jungle, and so you have to go at a certain time, come back at a certain time, Sri Shaila. And so it took us about 6 hours, I want to say, in a car to get there, and barely had darshan, maybe 1 or 2 seconds of darshan. And then again, 6 hours to come back. And so somebody asked me at that time, was this all worth it? Well, the real darshan of Bhagavan is the darshan inside. Every time we go for darshan, what do? We close our eyes because we know that Bhagavan is within us. And in a lot of our temples, all of our temples, except if we have some VIP darshan, the darshan is going to be 1 minute or 30 seconds or 40 seconds. It is going to be that. But the beauty of it is that the journey, whether it's 6 hours, whether it's 3 hours of waiting line, 2 hours of waiting line, the whole time our mind should be immersed in that Bhagavan, chanting his name, singing his name, thinking of his rupa, just being in him, longing for him. When am I going to see him? So when we go on these yatras, the whole point is not just the darshan. The whole point is also the longing, the wanting, the reveling, the singing, the dancing, the chanting. The whole point is the immersing ourselves into that Bhagavan. This is Sri Shaile Mallikarjunam. So here we go. So we see here, as I said, here the story of Kartikeya we saw. And here it is believed also Shiva comes here on Amavasya and Parvati ji on Paurnami. And Mallikarjuna, Mallika is Parvati Devi, Arjuna is Shiva. And this is the Shakti Peeth, as I told you. And here the neck had fallen. Adi Shankaracharya ji visited here. And of course, Shivaji Maharaj also used to take darshan here. Because you know, Shivaji Maharaj used to worship Bhavani. So, very, very beautiful temple. Go to the next. Ujjayinyam Mahakala. Ujjayinyam Mahakala. So, this temple now is in Ujjain, in Madhya Pradesh. Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh. Now, what is this story? Here in Ujjain, here there was a Brahmana. I have his names, their names written down, lots of names I have to remember. His name was Vedapriya. And by the way, this Ujjain is also called Avanti. And this Brahmana, Vedapriya, was so devoted. Brahmana just means somebody who's devoted, who studies the scriptures, who worships. And he had 4 sons, and they were Devapriya, Priyamedhas, Sukrita, and Dharmavahi. And there was this one Asura. There's always going to be an Asura in all of these stories. His name was Dushana. And this Dushana created so much havoc all over the place, all over Avanti. And these 4 brothers refused to move from their worship. They were worshipping a Parthiva link, a form of Shiva made of earth. They were worshipping Lord Shiva. Then they seriously and sincerely believed that Bhagavan Shiva would save them. So they did not move from their worship. And this is what we will find common with all of these bhaktas in these stories. And eventually, this Dushana went to them and said, "Who are you worshipping? What are you doing? I'm going to destroy you." And he threatened them. And when he did that, Bhagavan Shiva, in all of his terror, he emerged as Mahakal. And he just said, hum, and that Dushana was burnt to ashes. And so this is why he's called Mahakal, because he's the one that puts an end. He puts your time to an end if you're doing lots of mischief. And he's a scary one. This temple has such a surcharged energy. And one of the best things about this temple, is a lot of great things about this temple. The best things that they do is the Bhasma Arati. Their specialty is that they worship Bhagavan Shiva with Bhasma, or ash. So we were very fortunate because on New Year's Eve, right on that, the night before, we got a call that we were able to get tickets for this Bhasma Arti. It was very hard to get. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, they take the Shivalinga, and it is the most beautiful sight, most beautiful Alankara that I've ever seen. I take the Shivalinga, and from the beginning to the end, they decorate the Shivalinga with eyes, with a nose, with a mouth, with hair, with a mustache, with everything, and with cloth. And they then, once everything is there, they do the Bhasma Arti, and they spread ash all over Bhagavan Shiva. And finally, at the end, they reveal this Mahakal in all of his splendor and glory. And what a power he is. It's said in that place, that city of Ujjain, no prime minister or chief minister or head officer is allowed to stay there overnight, because there is only one king, and that king is Mahakal. Mahakal. And recently, I want to say something that was so touching to my heart, is that usually when we go to temples, we crib because we find that it's dirty, there's so many things all over the place. But I want to tell you that this time when I went, I was so proud to be a Bharatiya, because our temples are being reconstructed, they're being expanded. And especially something like this, Mahakal, has been expanded to have such a wide corridor, about 900 meters. So I'm going to show you pictures of this Mahakal corridor that you can see now there. Recently, this was inaugurated by Modi ji. So you see, it's a grand, grand corridor. And I must say, I must thank Swami Mitrananda ji for these pictures. He had taken lovely pictures when he had gone for the inauguration. So in this corridor, you will find lots of statues and pictures from our Puranas of Bhagavan Shiva, of Devi. And it's just really, really beautiful to see. So, we have here, it's this Mahakal. This is the temple of strength, because really when you go there, you feel his strength. You really feel his strength. And this Mahakal Lok corridor measures 900 meters now. And there's 2 gateways, Nandi Dwar and Pinaki Dwar. And there are 108 columns in a row with the Trishul design and various mudras of Lord Shiva. And it's surrounded by this big, vast lake. And it has 192 statues, 53 murals, and as we said, 108 stambhas. So this is another, each Jyotirling has its own beauty, so I can't tell you which is the best one. All I can say is go into any of them, to some of them, to all of them, so that you can feel their glory even more. The next one is Omkaram Amaleshwaram. Now this one is in Madhya Pradesh. Omkareshwar, Mamaleshwar. Here there are 2 Jyotirlingas beside each other. This is in Madhya Pradesh. And it's very, very beautiful because it's right by the Narmada River. And you've to cross over to get there. Now, this one is it's a beautiful one. And again, this Omkareshwar, it's called Omkareshwar for many reasons. One is it's believed that the island is shaped in an Om. And 2, this is where Bhagavan Shiva also manifested as Pranava. So it is said that the Vindhya mountain was there and Naraji came, and this Vindhya mountain was puffed up with pride. I'm so great, I'm so wonderful. And Naraji came and he said, no, Meru is loftier, Meru is greater. And so Vindhya mountain said, oh no, I need to be better. I need to be better. And so he prayed and prayed to Lord Shiva. And so Lord Shiva manifested here as Pranava. So he manifested as Pranava. And then it said also he came in two portions. One portion as Omkareshwar and the other one as Mamaleshwar. So that's why in this side, when you go, there are two Jyotirlingas that you can visit. Now, what makes this place so incredibly special is that it's surrounded by Narmada River. And Narmada River, Narmada Devi is the daughter of Bhagavan Shiva. And she is really recognized as a Devi. You know, when there is a certain celebration they have of Narmada Devi every year, and a little girl is taken on procession and worshipped as Narmada Devi. In this Narmada River, you find these Banalingas. They are the stones which are Shivalingas. They are, they're known to be Shivalingas. And they are worshipped. They are used for puja and worship. And this Narmada River is also so special because right near this Omkareshwar, right? Omkareshwar, where Bhagavan Shiva manifested as Pranava, and this is Shivalinga is partially suspended in water. And right near here are the caves where Adi Shankaracharya met his Guru, Govinda Padaji. Adi Shankaracharya also came to the Narmada River. And he came searching for a Guru. And it is in these caves nearby where he met his Guru for the first time. And that was a very beautiful meeting. This is also the place, Narmada River, where our Swami, Tapovan Maharaj, our Param Gurudev, he himself took sannyas upon himself under the name Swami Tyagananda. And this is also the river which Devi Ahilyabai, where she worshipped. Devi Ahilyabai, her residence was in Indore. But because she wanted to be close to the Narmada River, she shifted her residence to Maheshwar. Her whole, the capital, everything, she shifted it to Maheshwar because she wanted to worship near the Narmada River. So this, when you go to this place and you cross the bridge that I showed you, and you see the Narmada River, it just gives you that serenity, that peace. It makes you want to bathe in those rivers where all of these holy people have bathed. It makes you want to touch that river, which all of these people have touched. And it is said that whenever we go into a river, don't go with your feet first, because she's Ma. So first touch her and seek her blessings, and then slowly walk in. And I must say, when we were here, I was dying to get into the river, of course, but we couldn't go because we were such a big group. But luckily, we stopped by a restaurant for lunch. And lo and behold, in the bottom of that restaurant was Narmada Devi. Oh, I was so excited. I just ran down and I just wanted to feel her water on my skin. Because she's Devi after all. Okay, now we move to the next Jyotirlinga. So we saw here, this is the temple of sanctity, because it is, as I told you, just where it is, it's so sacred, right? So many people worshipped here. Next, we go to Vaidyanath. Sometimes it's called Vaidyanath, sometimes it's called Vaidyanath. Parali, the name of the place is Parali. So it says Paralyam Vaidyanath. And so this is in Jharkhand. So you'll see these beautiful towers are there. There's also a very interesting story for this. Shivalinga. Vaidya means doctor. And here, Bhagavan Shiva was a doctor. How so? Well, he's worshipped as a doctor. So all doctors, people who have diseases, they come to this temple. And actually the prasad they give is oil. They ask you to put the oil on Shivalinga, and they also ask you to put oil in your forehead, in your throat, etc. To heal. And so here is where once Ravana was praying to Lord Shiva, and praying to Lord Shiva. So he's doing so many things. And Ravana does so much tapasya. I know he's an asura, he's a rakshasa, he's everything put together, but he does so much tapasya. That's one thing we can learn from Ravana, how to be so strict and so deep in our tapas. And so he was trying all kinds of worship to Bhagavan Shiva. He tried to worship him in the summer by going into fire. He tried to worship him in the rainy season by just laying on the ground and getting wet all the time. And he tried to worship him in the winter season by bathing in water, cold water. So all of this, he tried so hard to worship Bhagavan Shiva, but Bhagavan Shiva wouldn't appear. And so he started cutting off his heads. He's cutting off his heads one by one. And after he cut off the 9th head, Lord Shiva came. Said, okay, Ravana, I will bless you. I will honor your tapasya. What is it that you want? And Ravana said, I want to take you with me to Lanka. And so Bhagavan Shiva said, Tathastu. And so Lord Shiva became a doctor, and he stitched back the heads of Ravana. So Ravana's heads were all intact again. And so Ravana was taking the linga, Shiva linga, to Sri Lanka. Lanka at that time. And the Devatas were so concerned, because Ravana, if he has that linga, will become so powerful. We have to do something. So what happened was Varuna Devata entered into Ravana. He entered into Ravana, and it made Ravana want to go to the bathroom. So Ravana is holding the Shivalinga. And Bhagavan Shiva's condition was, you cannot put down the Shivalinga. If you put it down, it stays there. So now Ravana is in a predicament. What does he do? He has to go to the bathroom. And Varuna entered him in such a way that he had to go to the bathroom really badly and for a really long time. So he found somebody, and he gave that Shivalinga to that young boy, said, please hold it. I'll BRB, IGTG, emergency. And so he went to the bathroom. And now this linga is heavy, it's Bhagavan Shiva after all. So this boy couldn't hold it anymore, and he put it down. And so Ravana came back. Oh, and he got mad. He got mad because now the Shivalinga has been put down, and he cannot take it anymore. And so some say that he pushed the Shivalinga, and that's why when you see the Shivalinga, it's pushed. Some say that when you go to this temple, you can feel the heat of Ravana's anger. And actually, when you go there, you feel heat. Many people are yelling and screaming in that temple. It's a different experience. And so this is this temple where that Shivalinga was put. That temple is Vaidyanatha. And some say that that boy was Bhagavan Vishnu. Some say that that boy was Bhagavan Ganesha. So when we enter Vaidyanath temple, you get the darshan of Bhagavan Shiva, Bhagavan Vishnu or Ganesha, and also Devi. This is also a Shakti beat. So in the picture I showed you earlier, you see they tie the two towers, they tie it with a red cloth. So married people also come here to worship, and they do a special ceremony where they tie the gopuram, the top of the Shiva temple, with the top of the Shakti temple, and they tie it with the red cloth. And this is how, and when they do this, it's believed to enrich the marriage. So many married couples actually go to this Vedanta temple to do this ceremony. So this is a very beautiful Shivalinga. Huh? So here I'll show you again that this is it. So you can see this is how they tie the cloth very nicely. And this is a very small Shivalinga. So here is the Shivalinga is being worshipped. So this is the temple of healing. So here, as we saw the austerity of Ravana, he also performs austerity, and we have darshan of all three. And this Shakti Peeth is where Sati's heart had fallen, and we saw the tying of the cloth. And also it says that Markandeya obtained his boon in this area, Parali. So very nice and auspicious place. So now we go to Dakinyam Bhima Shankaram. Dakinyam Bhima Shankaram. So what is the story here? So this is the Bhima Shankara temple. And this is the linga, the Shiva linga. So here, now the story was, Bhima was an asura. He was the son of Kumbhakarna. He's a son of Kumbhakarna. And he was very upset at Bhagavan Vishnu because of the Sri Rama avatar, and because of that his father got killed. And he was very upset. So he said, I am also going to do lots of tapasya, get lots of strength, and cause lots of chaos. And that's exactly what he did. And he was known as Bhima. And of course, what happened was there was this beautiful devotee, and his name was Swadhyaya. And he kept worshipping Bhagavan Shiva, and he would not yield, to Bhima. Bhima kept saying, what are you doing? What's all of this? And this Swadhyaya kept worshiping, and he did not give in to Bhima at all. He wasn't scared of Bhima at all. And it is to save this Swadhyaya that Bhagavan Shiva came as is Bhima Shankara Jyotirlinga. Again, what we see here is Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Whenever Bhagavan has to protect his devotee, he really comes. And his devotees don't stop worshipping. They keep going on and on. And it's also believed here that, Tripurasura had to be vanquished. And so Bhagavan Shiva prayed, here he also prayed. So let us see here. To understand the name of Dakini, here he prayed to Parvati Mata. And together as Ardhanarishwara, they destroyed Tripurasura. And this Tripurasura had two wives, Dakini and Shakini, right? It is the Dakini and Shakini, they said, what will we do without our husband? So then Bhagavan Shiva said, I will bless you with immortality. Let this place be named as Dakinyam Bhima Shankaram. So that's why it's called Dakinya, because of after Dakini. So here you can see how Bhagavan, Shiva was so, even to the wife of the Asura, he was so kind. He said, I will take your name. the Dakinyam, Bhima Shankaram. And even to Bhima, his foe, he took his name. I'm the Shankara that destroyed Bhima. So this is something so unique about Bhagavan Shiva, is that whoever seeks him, whoever comes to him, he accepts. So this is Dakinyam Bhima Shankaram. So this is a temple of faith, because Dakshina, I'm not going through all of the details of the story, because each story you can take for a long, long time. But his faith was unshakable to Lord Shiva, that no matter how much he was harassed by Bhima, he did not yield. Okay, now the next thing we go to is Setu Bandhe to Ramesham. So of course, from Rameshwaram, this is where the Setu, the bridge, was built to Lanka. From actually Dhanushkoti. So, but here is where Bhagavan Rama worshipped Lord Shiva. So Rameshwaram, this is in Tamil Nadu. So there are two versions of this story. One version is that before Sri Rama was to cross the bridge to go to Lanka, he worshipped Lord Shiva and he sought his blessings, because he said, this Ravana is your devotee. He's all strength. He's all powerful, almighty. I will need your strength, your power, and your mighty to defeat him. So one version is that before going into battle, Sri Rama worships Shivalinga here. He makes this Shivalinga here. Another version is that when he comes back, he wants to worship Bhagavan Shiva for Brahmahatya, because he has killed Ravana, and after all, Ravana is a Brahmana. So he has to absolve for his sin. And so he wants to worship the Shivalinga. And so Hanumanji was going to go to Kailash to bring a Shivalinga, but he came a little bit too late, because there's a Mohra, there's a certain time. And so the worship time was going to be over. If Sri Rama had to wait for Hanumanji, the worship time was going to be over. So instead, Sita Mata made a linga there. Sita Mata made a linga and Sri Rama worshipped. That's called Rameshwaram. So when you go, there's two lingas that they worship. One is the Vishwalinga, the one that is of Hanumanji, and the Ramalinga of Sita Devi. And it's a very, very beautiful temple. It is huge. So this is another temple that is, one of the very unique ones, because the first unique thing is that in the temple, there are 22 tirthas. So before going for darshan, people go to Agni Tirtha. This is Agni Tirtha. This is also where Sri Rama had bathed to absolve himself from his sin of killing Ravana. Not that Sri Rama is almighty Bhagavan, of course, but he's trying to teach us also a lesson. So when you go to the temple, there are other kunds, there are little ponds, and in total, all of them are 22, total 22. You bathe in all of them. So you go into one and they pour water over your head. You go into the other one, they pour water over your head. And it's from all holy rivers of Bharat. So it's such a beautiful thing. You go and for 22 times, water is poured over you. And you just feel that freshness of that coolness. Some are cool, some water's cool, some are warm, some are sweet, some are salty. But the point is that the point in bathing in these waters, or being able to bathe in these waters, is that we feel fresh, we feel new. Before seeing God, we must always feel fresh and feel new, because fullness can only come to an empty vessel, right? So that bathing symbolizes taking away all of our impurities so we can be ready to receive the purest of the pure. So this is the first feature. The second feature is rather these corridors. These are amazing, right? These are the outer corridors of Rameshwaram. And this is considered the longest. The corridors are considered the longest. The total length of 3,850 feet. There are a total of 1,212 pillars in the outer corridor. So it's a really, really huge temple, very, very big. And just walking in these beautiful corridors gives you such a feeling of serenity and peace. So here, as I said, this is where Sri Rama came to atone for his sin. And this is the two Shivalingas are here. So this is the temple of atonement. Now we go to Nagesham, Darukavane. So here, Darukavane is the place. It's by that forest, Daruka forest. And there's also the demons who are called Daruk and Daruka. And Nageshwar is the Linga. So this is Nageshwar in Maharashtra. As you can see, this is where the snakes are over Bhagavan Shiva. And it's said that they protect Bhagavan Shiva here, And this temple is really, really famous for a gigantic Shiva idol. It stands 125 feet. It's 25 feet wide. So it's really, really big. You go out, you see it right there. Right before you see the temple, you see this. And so, again, here, there was a very, very, beautiful devotee named Supriya. And there was this couple, Daruk and Daruka. They were, again, demons and trying to harass everybody and just cause a lot of chaos. And they imprisoned Supriya, this devotee Supriya. And this devotee Supriya, even if he was imprisoned, still he worshipped Bhagavan Shiva. Still he worshipped Bhagavan Shiva. He never gave up his worship. And when his life was being threatened, then Bhagavan Shiva emerged as this Nageshwar Jyotirlinga. And that is why we say Nagesham Darukavane. And here, if you see, this is a temple, of protection, So even if he was in prison, he still did puja. So many times we drop our sadhana. We are going here, we're going there. The first thing we do when we travel, we drop our sadhana. We're going somewhere to travel, drop waking up early. We're going somewhere, drop the puja, drop the japa. But this Supriya, what makes him such a bhakta to Bhagavan is, even in prison, he does his sadhana. So somebody who holds on so steady to their sadhana is so dear to Bhagavan. Bhagavan says, Name bhakta pranashyati, kaunteya pratijanihi. Oh, Arjuna, tell everybody that my devotee will never perish. And of course, on all four sides, there are smaller temples of the Jyotirlinga constructed. And close to this is the memorial of Vishobhachati and Namdev. So this is in Maharashtra. Now there's a very interesting story here. related to Namdev and Vishobachati. Namdev, was one who worshipped Vittal, and he could talk to Vittal, he could converse with Vittal, but Muktabai saw that he had some kind of pride in him. So she told Gora Kumbhar to test the pots rather. So all the saints were lined up, and this Gora Kumbhar kept hitting on their heads. And he would say, done, 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 done. But when it came to Namdev's turn, he said, oh, not done. So Namdev was very, very sad, thinking, what happened? And so Vitthal Bhagavan said to him that, it's because you're too proud, you haven't accepted a guru yet. So Namdev said, okay. This is one version, there's many versions of the story. So Namdev said, okay. So he went to this temple and he was praying to Bhagavan, praying. And so one time, now he went and he saw this person putting his legs on top of the Shiva Ling. And he said, what is this? And he told this person, please move your feet. You're on top of the Shiva Ling. And he said, oh, I cannot, I'm so old. Please help me. And so Namdev said, okay. And he tried to move this person's feet. And it went to another place. Again, a Shiva Ling popped underneath it. Namdev was like, what's happening? Again, he moved the feet and another Shiva Ling popped. And Namdev said, what's happening? And he realized now the greatness of this person. This person was Visobhachati. And Namdev realized that this Bhagavan Shiva, Bhagavan Vitthal, Bhagavan is not in one person, in one thing, in one idol. Bhagavan is really everywhere. And the one who has realized Bhagavan is everywhere, then that Bhagavan comes to him. He doesn't even have to go to Bhagavan. That Bhagavan comes to him. And so this is a very powerful lesson learned by Namdev. Okay. So now go to the next one. Varanasyam tu Vishvesham. So now we come to Varanasi. Varanasi is a very, very beautiful story. Again, I must really thank Swami Mitranandaji for his beautiful pictures. Some, of course, some were from our yatra. Some was definitely from Swamiji. So, they have really renovated this temple. It used to be in the gully, like these small streets. Varanasi, is all ghats there, about 84 ghats there. And so these streets were so narrow, and there was such a narrow road. It was so hard to get to the temple. I had gone there before. And this time when I went, I was absolutely astounded and shocked, because now it's 5 lakh square feet, so it's a whole new thing right now. It is so beautiful to look at. So what is this temple? The temple now is this place, Varanasi. It's called Kashi. Kashi because it's bright. It is the land of Shiva and Parvati. So it said that Bhagavan Shiva once wanted this, that Bhagavan wanted there to be creation. So he called Prakriti and Purusha to do penance. And this place of penance is Kashi. And so what happens here is Bhagavan Vishnu did penance. And when he did penance, he just saw such beautiful things emerge that he shook his head. When he shook his head, the earring fell. And that's why it's called Manikarnika. Manikarnika Ghat. You know that place is there in Kashi or Varanasi. And this is also the place where Parvati Mata told Bhagavan Shiva, now I want to, where can we stay? Please take us to a place where we can stay, where we can be together. You know, I have not seen any other place. We're sitting here in Kailash. So Bhagavan Shiva took Parvati Mata to Kashi, to Varanasi. So Bhagavan Shiva has blessed this abode, and they stayed here for their own tapasya, for their own penance. And Parvati Mata was so happy that she gave food to everybody. And that is why she's called as Annapurna Devi. So here also there is the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Beside it is Annapurna Devi. And it's also said that once Bhagavan Shiva and Parvati Mata were talking to each other, and Bhagavan Shiva said, everything is Brahman, everything is Brahman, Brahman is the only reality. And she said, yes, but you need Shakti. And he said, Brahman is the only reality. And she said, okay. And she withdrew all of the food, all of the fields, everything. And Bhagavan Shiva was starving. And he went as a beggar to Devi, Parvati Devi. And then he said, yes, it is Shiva and it is Shakti. And so she fed him happily. And so for that reason also she's called Annapurna Devi. Because as there is Shiva, there is also Shakti. And that's what makes it so beautiful, because almost every temple that you go see where there's a Shivaling, Devi is right there, behind him, beside him, in him, around him. But she's there. So this Varanasi is such a holy place, and it has 84 ghats. And this is also the place where Adi Shankaracharya ji had that revelation. Bhagavan Shiva came to him as this Chandala. As I said, Varanasi has very narrow streets. It still has those narrow streets now, but not anymore by this temple. So it has these narrow streets. And so when Adi Shankaracharya ji came out from Bath, he saw this Chandala and he said, Gacha, Gacha. He told this Chandala to move. And the Chandala said, who are you asking to move? Because we're both the same here. There is the same oneness in you and in me. And this is where Adi Shankaracharya's Nisha Panchakam came. So Bhagavan Shivaji, he gave darshan to Adi Shankaracharya ji here. He stayed here with Parvati Mata. Parvati Mata, she blesses everybody as Annapurna Devi. And this is also the place where Tulsidas ji wrote part of Ramcharitmanas. So that place is also there. This is the place where Kabir Das ji was born. So that place is there. And in Shiva Purana, Bhagavan Shiva says this is the place of liberation. So many, many people come and they want to die in Kashi. They want to die in Kashi. Varanasi, it's called Varanasi because it's the place where it's the meeting of the two rivers. And many people at the end of their life or towards the end of their life, they come. But it doesn't mean, so it is believed if you die here, you gain liberation. Yes, but if you strictly adhere to that dharma, not just anything or do whatever you want. So people at the end of their lives, they just sort of close their chapters, they let go of their ties, they let go of everything, and they sit and they just immerse themselves in Bhagavan Shiva. And there are homes, there are places where people go to die in Kashi. So death is something so accepted in Sanatana Dharma that we are not afraid to die. We are ready to die. We should be so ready that if Yamrajji said, okay, you're going to die tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we should tell Yamrajji, why tomorrow? Today I'm ready. Today you take. Because what is death after all? It's just the body. So this is the place. And Bhagavan Shiva says it's very, very sacred. There are 3 sacred cities. One is Varanasi, Kashi. One is Prayag. One is Gaya. So this is Kashi. And of course, as I said, this whole area now has been redeveloped. Oh, so beautifully redeveloped. Huh? And it was very small, and they took on this massive project. And when they were digging, they found old temples, ruins of old temples when they were digging. So this must mean that there was so much more to this before. So they rehabilitated many homes and many people and built this place for our Sanskriti, for our culture. And the beauty about this is the Shivalinga, is now there is a corridor. So there's a huge corridor that makes its way straight to Ganga Maya. And in this corridor, of course, these are venerated. Adi Shankaracharya ji, as I told you already, because he was in Kashi. Bharat Mata, because this Varanasi, this Kashi, is a glory to Bharat Mata. And Bharat Mata is the mother who withstood the test of time. And again, like so many of our temples, which have been destroyed and looted and broken, they have been renovated by such amazing people like Devi Ahilyabai, again, who was part of the renovation of Kashi, during her reign. So there's this corridor which pays tribute to them. And when you come out of that corridor, it leads you to Ganga Maya. And you go to Ganga, you go and you can take a boat to Dashashwamedha Ghat. This is where Brahmaji is said to have performed 10 Ashwamedha Yajnas. So, and so many people, I think it must be thousands of people who come to do this arati. And so many boats dock in the river. People come, and every single day we can see arati to Ganga Maya. Oh, this just touches my heart, that nowhere do I see people worship rivers the way we do. It's just so amazing, so amazing. And to us, she's not a river, she's mother. She's mother. So this is our Kashi. Kashi, because it shines, Prakasha, it shines with such spiritual power. As I said, it's one of the holiest cities. And there is a Manikarnika Ghat where bodies are cremated. And this is a beautiful home to many saints, sages, and even to Bhagwan himself. Okay. Now we go to Trambakam Gautami Tate. So here now we are in Trambakeshwar. The banks Gautami Tate, the banks of Gautami. And this is Triambakeshwar in Maharashtra. And it's a very beautiful, it's called Triambakeshwar because here there are 3 lingas symbolizing Brahmaji, Vishnuji, Maheshwaraji. And there's a natural source of water coming to do Abhisheka. So what is this story? Now this story is beautifully elaborated in Shiva Purana. And it's elaborated as there was Gautama Rishi and his wife Ahalya, Ahalya Devi, and they were, there was a drought. For about 100 years, there was a drought. And so the beautiful thing about saints and sages is whenever there's a drought, they pray. They pray not only for themselves, but for the welfare of humanity. And so they prayed and they prayed and they prayed during this drought. And so Bhagavan came to bless him with water. Varuna Devta came to bless him with water. Varuna Devta blessed him with water. And so Gautam Rishi said, please also rain everywhere, make it water everywhere. And he said, no, you are the one who did punya, it will come to you. But what Gautama Rishi did is he shared whatever he got. So he allowed people to come take water. He grew crops, he grew grains, and he allowed people to come take there. And so he was very generous this way. So everybody loved him, cared for him, revered him, and Ahilya ji. And one day, the wives of these other rishis, were going to take water. Also, the disciples of Gautama Rishi were going to take water. So there was some argument there, and the wives of the other rishi said, you cannot take water first. And, so they went to report this to Ahilya. And Ahilya went and she sort of kind of resolved the problem, because Gautam Rishi had to do his puja, he had to do everything. So the wives of the other rishis, they now created some havoc, saying that, we weren't treated properly, this happened, that happened. All of these things they said, maybe exaggerated a little bit. So of course, those other rishis got enraged, they got mad, and they performed austerity, they formed tapas, and they invoked Ganesha. They invoked Sri Ganesha and said, oh, Sri Ganesha, you have to take Gautam Rishi away from here. Leave all that water and that grains for us, take him away from here. And Ganesha said, why should I do that? He's so devout, he's so pious, he's a tapasvi. I can't do that. And they said, no, this is what we want. We did the tapasya and this is what we have to get. Ganesha said, okay, but you will have to pay for it. You will have to pay for what you did. And so Ganeshji, he came in the disguise of a cow, very, very weak cow. And he went by, the crops and everything of Gautam Rishi. So Gautam Rishi said, kind of tried to shoo the cow away. And just by trying to shoo the cow away, the cow died. And so the rishis came out and said, Go Hatya, you have killed the cow. You are to be banished from here. And he was very sad, very, very sad. So he and Ahilya, they left and they went somewhere else. And so he said, please tell me how to repent. And they told him, you have to do all of this penance, you have to do parikrama, you have to pray. And so, of course, he did all of that penance and he sought Lord Shiva. He prayed to Lord Shiva, prayed and prayed and prayed to Lord Shiva. And so Lord Shiva appeared before him. And Gautam Rishi was so pleased and so gratified. Lord Shiva said, what do you want? And Lord Shiva said, first of all, do you know what all of those people did? This is what they did. And Lord Shiva told them the whole story. Gautam Rishi wasn't mad. Can you believe that? Gautam Rishi wasn't mad. He said, I'm so glad. Because if they did not do that, I wouldn't have done tapasya. And then I wouldn't have seen you. So instead of, imagine if that happened to us. People lied and threatened and pushed us out of something. And Bhagavan told us the whole story. The first thing we would do is, how do we get revenge? But Gautam Rishi said, it's because of them I got your darshan. I got your darshan. And I am so happy. And please forgive them. And Bhagavan Shiva was so pleased. He said, what do you want? Gautam Rishi said, I want Ganga Maya. because I want to be absolved from that sin of killing a cow. So Bhagavan Shiva blessed him with Mother Ganga. And that Mother Ganga came as Gautami. So that's why it's Gautami Pate. And he said, please stay here. Please stay here always, so we can continue to worship. And so Bhagavan Shiva stays there as Triambakeshwar. So this is that place of atonement. It's this place of atonement where Gautam Rishi, first of all, acknowledged that he did something wrong. He didn't, he wasn't like, oh, I didn't do anything. He did nothing. He accepted right away. And right away when he did something wrong, what is he thinking? How can I atone for it? This is also something so beautiful about Gautam Rishi, is that when he realized that Go Hatya happened, he killed the cow, he said, now what can I do? I need to do something to get rid of this. So this is the place of cleansing, of atonement. Triambakeshwar. So here is the penance, Gautam Rishi, Ganga Ma comes as Gautami. And here's also nearby is the Samadhi sthal of Nivrittinath. Nivrittinath was the brother of Jnaneshwar Maharaj. So it's a very, very holy place also in Maharashtra. Now we go to Kedar. Himalaya to Kedar. So this is Kedar. And I have not been. This is the one that we couldn't physically go to. So these are pictures from Deepta and Karthik, who had gone there. I think it was last summer. So they have shared this with us. And it's very, very beautiful because this is right in the Himalayas. Right in the Himalayas. And Jai Shri Kedar. This one has to trek, do a long, long, arduous trek to get this darshan. And this temple is a temple of revelation. First, I'll tell you about Kedar. There are 4 dhams, the 4 dham, right? Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri, Yamunotri. So Kedar is one of the 4 dhams. They say that Yamunotri is the dhama of bhakti. So she's the dhama of bhakti. Gangotri, she's the dhama of jnana. Kedarnath is the dhama of vairagya. And Badrinath is the dhama of mukti. So in English, Yamunotri of devotion, Gangotri of knowledge, Kedarnath of dispassion, and Badri of liberation. These 4 dhamas are very, very important in our Bharatiya culture. So it is said that one who does the char dham gains a lot of punya. There's also, if we look at, there's other char dham, which is Rameshwaram in the south, Badri in the north, and then in the west we have Dwaraka, and the east Puri. So that's also another set of dhams that are very, very auspicious and sacred. Now this Kedar is the place where the Pandavas went to atone for their sin. Because Pandavas also now, they did Hatya. They killed all the Kauravas. And so they had to also atone. They had to also repent for it. So Bhagavan Krishna said, you must seek the blessings of Lord Shiva. So they were trying to find Bhagavan Shiva, and they thought they almost saw him, but he ran away. So there's this place that's Gupt, the place where Bhagavan Shiva hid. that's near Kedar, that he hid, but he couldn't really be seen. And then finally, they saw him. They saw him, but they saw him, and he he saw him as a bull, a buffalo, and his parts became split. Huh? So his hind, his hind, that's hunch, is in Kedarnath. So there's 5 Kedars, Pancha Kedar it's called. I'll show you here. We'll come back to that. Huh? And the Pandavas came here. So he's a bull, buffalo, and the hump is in Kedar. Then the arms are in Tunganath. Face is in Rudranath. Nadi or navel is in Madhya Maheshwar, and the hair is in Kalpeshwar. So these are the 5 Kedars. There's Pancha Kedar. Kedarnath is the main one, the Jyotirlinga, the Chardham. But this form of Bhagavan Shiva, as that buffalo or bull, it was split now into 5 different parts. So the hump, that is where that's in Kedar. So also if you go to go inside the temple, the linga is like this. It's like a little hump. So this is where Bhagavan Shiva came to bless the Pandavas. And this is also believed to be the place where Adi Shankaracharya left his body. So if you see here, the picture of Adi Shankaracharya, here they have put one nice big statue there. So Kedar, this is only to be done in summer, so we could not go in winter, but it's to be decided in Bhagavan's hands when it will happen. This is the 12th Jyotirlinga, Gushmesham to Shivalaya. And this place is known as Gushmeshwar, sometimes Krishneshwar. This is in Maharashtra. So here in Krishneshwar, there is this couple, Sudharma and Sudeha. And Sudharma was a very, very devout devotee of Bhagavan Shiva. Used to worship Bhagavan Shiva every single day. And Sudeha was very happily married to her husband, but she was very sad because she could not give birth. And people were going to her and telling her, how can you be like that and not give birth? This made her very sad. And Sudharma said, it's okay, leave it. If we're not meant to have a child, it's okay. Let us still live our married dharma together. Let us worship Bhagavan. But she felt she couldn't be like this. She couldn't be like this, I tell you, because when a mother doesn't have a child, it's a very, very tough feeling, very tough feeling. So she said, I want you to marry my younger sister, Gushma. Marry her. And so Sudharma said, listen, if you really, really want, okay, I will marry her and we will beget a child. And so they had a child. Now they had a nice child, and this Sudeha, she was very jealous of her sister Gushma, because Gushma's son kept getting all the attention. Everyone kept looking at him, admiring him, loving him, caring for him. And she was so upset. And he grew up to be a young boy. And then he grew up to be in marriageable age. So they got him married also. And all this time, Sudeha couldn't tolerate it. So one day she said, enough is enough. I'm going to do something. And at night, she goes to the son's place, the son's room, and she cuts his arms. And so he can no longer live. He's dead. And his wife wakes up and she finds him bleeding. She doesn't know what to do. She wakes up. Now in the morning, she tells Kushma, she tells Sudharma what happened. But Sudharma and Kushma, they do not move from their puja. And we find this again common in all Shiva Bhaktas. They didn't move from their puja. They just worshipped and worshipped and worshipped. And Kushma's conviction was that Bhagavan gave her the sun, that Bhagavan can also take away the sun, that Bhagavan can also bring back the sun. And she kept on worshipping Bhagavan. But nothing. And finally, she made these Shrilingas as her daily offering, and she immersed them in the river. And as she immersed them in the river, her son came, all alive and ready, back again. And so one would think that Kushma was thrilled, but very beautifully it says in Shiva Purana, she was not delighted because she was never distressed to begin with. So can you believe that? How she maintained her equanimity all throughout, even in losing her son and even in gaining her son. And so that's why it's Kushmesha Shivalaya. That place is called Shivalaya. So Shivalaya. Lord Shiva was so happy. He blessed her. And she said, please remain so that we can always worship. Lord Shiva said, your sister has to be punished for what she did. So she has to be punished. And Kushma said, no. By seeing you alone, people are absolved of their sins. All their sins become ashes. So let her have that sight and let her be okay. Let her be free. And so they have changed her ways. She repented. She changed her ways. Because it said, even if it's a papi, somebody who's such a sinner, if they have that darshan of Bhagavan, it moves mountains. Api suduracharaha, even the worst of the sinners comes to Bhagavan. They are able to change. And so that's Kushmeshwar or Krishneshwar. And this is how she got her son back to life again. So these are the 12 Jyotirlingas. And at the end of the stotra, it says so beautifully that, again, this is the story. Before we go, this is the story. And this Krishneshwar, not take these two out. These were of Triambakeshwar, but this was restored by Devi Ahilyabai. It says, Etani Jyotirlingani Sayam Prata Paten Naraha. So these 12 Jyotirlingas, Sayam Prata, the one who meditates on this, contemplates on this in the morning, in the evening, what happens? Sapta Janmakritam Papam Smaranena Vinashiti. All of the papas that were done in 7 lives, just by remembering these, those are vanished, those are gone. So the whole idea of a yatra outside is to come to a yatra inside. The whole idea is that we are extroverted beings. Generally, we are extroverted and we need to go out. We need to meet people. We need to socialize. We need to talk. So Bhagavan says, why don't you go to places where you feel me the most. If you want to travel, travel, but travel in the places where you feel me. You want to go talk to someone in whom you can feel me. You want to see things, go to the places where you can see me most, see me clearly. And these places are called yatras or tirthas. And when we go to them, we become purified because all we hear is Bhagwan. All we see is Bhagwan. All we smell is Bhagwan. There is no moment when we're away from Bhagwan. Whether we're on the plane or on the bus or on the train or on the rickshaw or on any mode of transportation, in the ship, all we're thinking is, when is the next darshan going to take place? When can we see Bhagavan next? All we're thinking is chanting his name. All we're thinking of is seeing how he would look like. All we're thinking of is being with him. Though we are always with him, we're thinking of being with him even more. So all this outward journey was really just to close our eyes and come inside. And when we do that, there lies the real Jyotirlinga. There lies the real Jyotirlinga. The real Jyotirlinga is that of Chit, is that of pure consciousness, is that of Atma, the very self. Shivoham, Shivoham. And that is the real vision. So again, I offer my pranam, my sincere gratitude to every being that has made this yatra possible. For all of us, I offer my pranam to Bhagavan Shiva, who is pretty much my life. And I offer this to the feet of Puja Gurudev, who is my breath. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru. Hari Om.